We've all been there. You post your video after getting the editing, music, and description just right, and then crickets. Your post gets a fraction of the engagement you were expecting. So, in your post, disappointment, doom scrolling, you come across someone else's post that doesn't seem half as impressive as yours, and it's got a ton of engagement. What is going on? But then there's a post that you make that pulls a landslide of engagement. Likes galore, comments flowing with compliments. Amazing, love it, wow. And you get that little taste of excitement, that little dopamine hit. The more social media engagement you get, the more you want. And around we go. But for what? We're going to dissect this very question on today's episode of Woodworking is Bullshit. Yep.
Come on, come all to another episode of your favorite woodworking,
will.
not woodworking podcast. Woodworking is bullshit. I'm your host, Paul Jasper, scientist by day, woodworker by night. And in the chair across the screen from me is Eric Curtis, fine furniture maker, content creator. And in the guest chair tonight is none other than Dr. Sherry Pagoto, esteemed research psychologist. Well, how would you describe yourself?
I am a social media researcher. I am at the University of Connecticut, and I'm the director of the UConn Center for Health and Social Media. So I'm here for things all social media.
Oh, thank
So
God.
remember when you were just talking about crickets after a post? That's what that intro felt like.
I just got crickets on my intro. That's all right.
It was like, I don't know. I've known you for 20 years. I don't know what you do.
I've known
Forgot who I am.
I've known Sherry since I've been like in my 20s, and it's like now.
And it was like, I don't know. I think you're a
I'm
scientist.
like, how do I introduce? Oh my God, that's
all right.
terrible. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all good.
But we wanted to have Sherry on this episode because Sherry is what I would consider a dual threat. She has a very active, serious research laboratory at UConn, and her entire career is doing psychological research on brain chemistry and behaviors. And we thought today's topic would be perfect because not only does she have that expertise, but Sherry also comes understanding social media and interrogating social media in her research in a way that is relatable. I think so many scientists are not relatable to the lay public, but I think Sherry is very front-facing with her research, and she can help us dissect today's topic. So
I don't know what you're talking about. Most
Thank
of the
you.
scientists I know are so normal and not at all weird.
Eric,
Well, I'm a scientist / social media junkie, so I got a little bit of both sides there. So.
Okay.
Yeah. So let's unwrap it. Let's break it down.
so tonight we're going to talk about social media, but when I say social media, what that means is like, there's all these great parts to it. It connects us. It inspires us. It gives us a platform to share our opinions, our ideas, our views.
And we became friends.
Exactly. Like, there's no doubt how great social media can be. But beneath the likes and the shares and the endless scrolling lies, I think, a subtle danger. And that is the risk of losing our sense of self and who we are.
Is it subtle?
Okay.
I think it's pretty explicit,
Yeah, it's not that subtle. And so, to start to interrogate this balance between the reward and the risk of social media, like, we have a big show for you tonight, but I would just say, like, are you living authentically when you are on social media, or are you just performing? And this reaches all of us. This touches every single one of us. It doesn't matter if you're a content creator or you're a social media consumer and you're just browsing Facebook to see what your friends are up to, or you hope to grow a business, like you're hoping to engage people in what you're doing and maybe grow a business from scratch. on Instagram or whatever. This topic about authenticity, the dangers of social media, the positives of social media, this touches all of us. So, it is not some niche subject that only applies to some of us. So I guess we could start with, I asked Sherry the other day, we were kind of ideating together.
Yep.
And I asked you, I said, why are we on social media? Let's start with like the simplest, almost stupid question.
Yeah. So we are, as humans, as primates, a very social species. So I think when social media came along, that's why it sort of took off, is because we're wired to interact with other people. We're wired to create connections with other people. Social media allowed us to do this with much bigger networks. We could engage in different ways than we were able to engage before. Geographical boundaries don't matter. And so it sort of reinvented social engagement. And so I think that's why it got so popular so very fast. And I also think that's probably why it's not going to be going away anytime soon. So in terms of this idea that we're wired for social interactions, so from a kind of psychological perspective, the way that I would put that is that we're wired for what's called social reinforcement. So we are a communal species in that it benefits our survival to have social connection. So when we're part of a group, we get things like, what kind of things do we get from being part of a group, a family, a community? What do you get from that?
Safety.
Food safety.
We had this
Yes.
conversation at the end of last episode about the apocalypse and what we would bring to it. And the first thing was basically just building social connections, because you can't do everything yourself.
Absolutely. So we get, like you were saying, food, there's safety in numbers. When we connect with other people, we have opportunities for mating, all the things that sort of, motivate humans.
That's why I'm on Instagram.
That's why, slide into the DM. So even way before social media, as a species, humans and other primates too are a social species. We get things from being social. We also learn via social experiences.
Mm-hmm.
So when we watch other people, we learn things. So we don't have to try everything to find out what's risky and what's not. We learn from each other. So there's social learning. There's all kinds of psychological theories about social learning. So we are drawn to social opportunities to connect socially. So that makes it a good thing, and social media has allowed us to do that. So all of you listening out there probably have the experience of, you go on social media, you're connecting with people maybe you would have otherwise lost touch with, maybe old friends from back in the day, family members that you don't see anymore. So it's widened our social circles, and so there's some good to that for sure.
Well,
So-
and in this, realistically, whatever platform people are watching and or listening to this episode on, this is a social platform. So, hopefully, I hope, Paul, I know you hope that we're providing some, level of insight and information and things that people can use and apply to their own life. So that in and of itself, not to pat ourselves on the back too hard, is one of the positive aspects of social media,
Well, I think one of the reasons why podcasts like this have become so popular is because it's sort of longer form social engagement. It's conversational. It's the type of social engagement we're used to, as opposed to maybe newspapers, which are, you're reading, you're consuming things, but you're not interacting, you're not hearing conversations. So I do think like social media and how it's evolved into the podcast and other forms are really getting at sort of what we're craving as humans, which is to connect with other people.
I was just looking for Eric, a comment that we received just the other day. I
was wondering what you were looking for. I was like,
sorry.
I've never seen this motherfucker so distracted.
No, I'm sorry. I was distracted because I was looking for this comment. I just read this yesterday. Someone left this about the podcast. And this isn't about tooting our own horn, but it's really about how social media can help us. And this person said, this is Evo Sarah on YouTube podcast. He said, I really need to let this out. I'm not a social network guy. I love YouTube because I've learned my craft of woodworking essentially with YouTube. So I'm not a Patreon person, and my interactions are as basic as it gets. I subscribe and I like, and that's it. But I want you guys to know that what you do in this channel is absolutely precious to me. It's like having a radio station that was made for us. I love it so much that sometimes I don't listen to the entire episode, so that I still have something to hear later. That's how much I love Woodworking is Bullshit. So I just hope you guys keep loving doing this as much as I'm sure we all love listening. Thank you. And I will always fall short with words to express how much I appreciate this channel. All the luck and happiness.
Man, I just got goosebumps.
I know.
Feel good.
You know, that kind of feedback tells me like that our decision to record this, as opposed to just having these conversations privately, does impact people. And look, that's the value of social media. It's like you feel so good to know that someone else enjoys it like that.
It's also really fascinating that somebody can look past the copious amounts of dick jokes that we make to actually, you know, take value out of these conversations.
I have made none.
Paul's clearing his name.
I will say also, without exaggeration, that Instagram has changed my life.
Oh, for sure.
Without a doubt.
Hands
Eric,
down.
I wouldn't know you. We wouldn't have this podcast.
Yeah.
I wouldn't have all my maker friends. I wouldn't be part of all of that without social media. I wouldn't have Copper Pig. Who knows what I'd be doing without social media? It has
You'd
changed.
be a drunk down in an alley gutter somewhere, man.
Telling dick jokes.
Like-
Yes, exactly. So, you know, I think all of us feel how good social media can be. But, Cher, as you and I have been talking about, that doesn't come free and clear. Like, there's brain chemistry that accompanies, like, there's brain chemistry concerns that accompany social media, right?
Absolutely. So what you described, though, of how your social media experiences connected you to Eric and you guys became friends and you like built this community in the woodworking sphere, that's great, because it's taking you from, you know, likes and comments to actually real world connections that are much richer than that. So I guess one of the downsides of social media is that the typical type of engagement, likes, comments, that sort of thing, is what I call kind of social breadcrumbs. It's a little dopamine hit, like the example I did in the open of, you know, you're waiting for the likes and the comments and they're from strangers and that sort of thing. Those are kind of social breadcrumbs in that they give us like a little taste of connection, but they don't really fully satisfy our need for human connection. Because our need for human connection leads to those outcomes we talked about, you know, like leading us to resources, protecting our survival. We're learning things and things like that. So we're not necessarily in most of our social media activities deeply bonding.
Yeah.
And so when we look at how we feel, so think about this, the last thing you posted and you started to get likes, what's happening in your brain is a dopamine hit. That's a dopamine hit. You're like, somebody liked me. You know, it's a little tiny breadcrumb. It feels good, but kind of for a second. And they start to add up, but it's not changing your life, right? That post, you know, by 2 days from now, you're kind of over it, right? But what we crave social connection wise is something very deeper than that. Are the type of social connections that really are good for us and that make us feel good are typical connections that would create oxytocin. So this is another piece of our great brain chemistry, is when we're connecting in ways that are in person or that involve sharing how we're feeling and our deep, like our thoughts about things, or we're sharing experiences and activities, or connecting in deeper ways, that actually creates bonding through the hormone oxytocin. And oxytocin.
Can you? Okay, I was
Yes,
going to ask
go
you
ahead.
if you could
Yes.
explain to the lay folk among us the difference
Yes.
between dopamine and oxytocin.
Yeah, so dopamine is a neurotransmitter, and it's a great one because it does make us feel good. And it's a neurotransmitter that you also feel during things like when you're eating something yummy. So if we just like had a Snicker bar right now, during sex, during if we take drugs, things like that. So it's kind of that quick hit of pleasure and joy, but it's not long lasting. Whereas oxytocin comes from a deep, long hug, or cuddling on the couch, or confiding in a friend, or sitting around the campfire and just talking about life. That's bonding. That's true bonding. When someone just hits a like button or makes a comment, amazing, you know, on your post, you're not actually creating a human bond. But the activities that create human bonding produce oxytocin. So there's another chemical in our brain that actually makes us feel closer to another human being. It can even be facilitated by something as simple as a hug.
It's a chemically different relationship.
Very different.
That's interesting.
Yes. Yeah. And so the way oxytocin works too is it shuts down cortisol. Cortisol is a stress hormone. So whenever you're stressed out, your cortisol is off the charts and it puts you in fight or flight. And it facilitates the whole fight or flight mechanism of your body. And oxytocin, the reason why we feel better when we get a hug, when we confide in someone, when we're doing something fun with a friend, is because oxytocin is shutting down our stress. And that's making us feel better. And it actually is good for your health because to the extent that you're quelling your stress, it's improving your mental health, it's improving your physical health, because stress like wreaks havoc on like both mental and physical health.
So to give an example of these two different, like dopamine centric versus oxytocin centric, I guess I would say when you have a good social media post or like you feel like, oh, everyone's interested in my content, like how long does that make you feel good for? Versus you have a night out with your best friend and you go out to dinner and you talk over dinner for like 2 hours and you bond and you give them that huge hug at the end of the night, right? And you had drinks and and then you're walking home. And to me, the sense of well-being of the second in-person real interaction is so much longer lasting and so much more powerful than anything like these little social media dopamine hits.
Sure. I mean, yeah, they're fundamentally different relationships. You know,
they are.
Like I can go spend, this is part of the reason why I go to the conferences or go to Maker Camp is coming up. And like, it's exhausting by the end of those 4 days. I'm toast, but like, that's the reason you go, is to spend time around friends. But these are also friendships. Again, like this is kind of the weird nature of it. Every single one of them. And so I'm wondering, like, we're not really born into a system right now that is that takes advantage of those social networks, like that are, you know, the people around you when you're born. Your familial relationships is one thing, but like society is formed in a way right now where like you can't. I mean, Paul is one of one, so he can walk across the fucking street and ask his neighbor to teach him woodworking, and he'll be like, yeah, that's fine. Most of us can't do that. Like, that's not how the world works anymore. So is social media, and I might be getting out ahead of you guys of what you want to talk about, is it like a seedling for that? Is it a place to germinate some of those relationships?
Yes,
I was just thinking that.
Yeah.
This is like a continuum where like the social media connects you with so many people and you have access to them, but then you move into the second phase, which is a more realistic relationship with them one-on-one.
But the question is also like, how much is that happening with our social media activities? So of all the time you spend scrolling, how much is that leading to relationships that are producing more bonding?
Okay. I would say for me, it's incredibly productive.
That's great.
Well, again, you're one of one, dude.
I spend most of my time, I don't scroll much anymore.
Yeah.
I spend most of my time talking with friends in the direct messages. How about you?
I mean, the relationships that do, I guess we're not in a dissimilar spot. The majority of the relationships, well, I think so.
You just shitting on me a second ago. Get out of here.
I shit on you all the time. The relationships that have turned into close friendships are amazing and wonderful. And I think those continue to happen, but it's like friendships even before social media, I think often were a repetition game. You know, like you're introduced to a person. Oh, this person's my buddy. Then you spend some more time with them. Oh, you know, this guy might be all right. And then by 3 years down the road, you're like, yeah, we spent every fucking Sunday together watching football and drinking too many beers. And that's how friendship develops. Is it takes repetitive exposure. You know. And I think that's still happening on social media, though I am more guarded with my time on it because there's only so many hours in a day I have, and I already have a lot of friends that I love dearly. I want to give them the time, you know?
Well, and that kind of gets to when you think of all the people, your social media followers, your social media connections, the percent of them that you're actually engaging with in rich, like bonding ways is probably pretty small.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the reasons for that is like our brains can only process so many social connections. And they've actually done research on this. There's something called Dunbar's number. And it's this number of the maximum number of social connections you can have. And actually, like from a cognitive brain perspective.
Don't tell Eric. Eric?
Yeah.
What do you think the number is?
What's the most social connections you can have before it's too much?
Like,
okay, close social connections?
well, yeah, define it. The number.
Yeah.
The number of like relationships or social
relationships with people. So friends. So yeah, just
like close friends.
It would be. Well, what's an acquaintance?
Well, is it someone who you would have over to your house and have dinner with? Is it that close?
That's a good barometer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody
Yeah.
that you would talk on the phone if they
Okay.
were far
Okay.
away.
Okay.
Someone that you would do more than just like
How many
comment.
do you think that you're
It's
capable of
it's lower
supporting?
than we think. I'm gonna say 22.
Okay. Well, it's actually there's debate. So Dunbar's number is actually 150.
150?
There's debate.
I would not. Okay, all right. So this is where
It's some-
the amount of people that I would actually talk to on the phone is like 4.
Yeah. Well, if you got like phone,
It's just you're stunted.
Yeah. Eric needs friends, you guys. It's one of the.
No, I have too many. That's why I don't talk
Always
to them
too
on the
many
phone.
friends. More is too many. So, but I mean, there's controversy about it too around like because some other scientists argue that it is smaller. So to Eric's point, he's not wrong. There's some controversy about it.
I guess
you know,
I'm
where
thinking,
that number is.
I'm thinking about like how many people would I invite to stay in my house and like stay up into the night talking about life with?
Well, I think that would be a closer bond.
Yeah,
So
that's
when you
okay.
think of Dunbar's number, think about who would be at the family reunion. Who are all the friends that you
think
would...
I'm going to a family reunion? I don't need to see my brother cousin. Like, what are we talking about here?
This is quickly devolving into Eric's social
Yeah,
page.
this is becoming yet another therapy session.
All right, wait. So since you told me 150, this Dunbar's number,
Yeah.
I have been thinking nonstop about that, and I've been
Yeah.
counting like the number of like friends I have who I would
people
like.
that you would talk to. I mean,
you've been ranking us. I need to
yeah,
know where I
so-
fall in the ranks.
Number one.
But here's the thing, even
You're always my number one.
okay. So here's the thing about the 150. If you think about how many friends you have on Facebook, Instagram, any platform, it's way more than 150.
Oh yeah.
Sure.
So we're
sure.
juggling
Oh yeah.
a group of ties, many of which are probably
Well, Facebook-
very loose ties.
Facebook's 1,000 right off
Yeah.
the bat.
Right. So these are people that if it wasn't for Facebook or whatever platform we're talking about, there would be no connection with.
But
yeah.
hold on, I'm going to push back on that a little bit because I think if we think like before I was using Instagram as a business and investing in it, I think I had maybe 300 to 400 followers on Instagram, right? Which is more than the Dunbar number.
Yeah.
But there are so many people. Let's take it back 50 years. You are born in Poughkeepsie, you grow up in Poughkeepsie, you open a wood shop in Poughkeepsie, you live your life in Poughkeepsie, you graduated high school with 300 people, and you might see those people at the coffee shop and say like, "Hey, Kimberly, how you doing? Like, how's Johnny?" And that is effectively like that 3-minute interaction at 8 a.m. on a Tuesday with the person that you used to know feels like what Instagram was 10 years ago or 15 years ago, of just like the observing of like, "Hey, it's Matthew's birthday today. Hey, happy birthday, buddy." But it doesn't take a lot of social expenditure. But I think those interactions still happened just in a different way. We don't, you're not running into those people who live in Ohio.
Yeah.
Right.
Eric, the question, how you said Instagram used to be more of a neighborhood feel. Part of me wonders if that's how Instagram has changed over time. And the other part of me wonders whether that's how you have changed over time. You've gone from a few hundred followers to a few 100,000 followers. So that by definition has to change the way you interact with people.
It certainly does, and I think it's both. But speaking just for myself, it absolutely changes the way I interact with people, because there's a lot of people who will like send me a DM, send me an email, sometimes respond to a YouTube video or a post on Instagram, and say something really nice, talk about how they, see X or Y in my work and it inspires them. And I like genuinely grateful that they're taking that from my work. But I also don't have enough hours in the day or emotional expenditure to respond to everybody. So it becomes, and what sucks about it is like, I can see myself 15 years ago, 20 years ago, when I was starting out in that interaction, and like, writing an email to somebody I looked up to, hoping for a response and not getting one and being disappointed.
Yeah.
But also, if I spent my time responding to everybody who sent me a DM or an email or responded to every YouTube comment, I literally wouldn't be able to do my job. And also, I wouldn't have any other social interactions.
Well, I'm guessing a lot of those people are total strangers, right?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
So there's you don't know their names.
8% of them.
Yeah. And so that's kind of the sort of disparity between, social media is creating these very large networks that's more than we can handle, versus like before social media, our networks were smaller and the connections were richer.
Although I like what you said about using social media as a seedling.
Yes.
Like for much deeper, out of 100 people who you might cross paths with on Instagram, maybe one or two become close friends over time. You never know. So I think that's a great way to see it. And I hadn't really thought of it that way prior to this conversation.
Yeah, absolutely.
So, all right, I want to switch gears now. Like, I feel like we've talked about like, the brain chemistry around social media and how it's great. I would like to come to maybe some of the risks associated with it that come part and parcel of all this great stuff. And I think I'd like to start with this word, algorithm. The algorithm is tough. We all have a sense for what it means. Like, I should have looked up the definition of an algorithm for Mary. Sorry, Mary. I didn't look.
Sorry, Mary.
But the algorithm is, if you ask the lay public, I think we would all kind of give this sort of answer that it's the unseen mastermind, in essence, that controls what people see based on their previous clicking behavior. It's run by it's obviously engineered by software developers and company executives for the kind of behavior they want the algorithm to have, but apparently it's also updated constantly via neural networks that update themselves without even human intervention, like almost like AI. So the algorithm is learning as it goes and changing things even unbeknownst to its human inventors. So it is this governing force or unseen mastermind that potentially affects what we post, what we consume, whether people see what we post. And I think there's a rich conversation around this.
Absolutely. I always think of it as the ghost in the machine, is that there's this sort of mysterious mathematical model that decides, what your social media experience is going to be. And so
I can't think of anything so powerful that we know so little about.
Well, it's all proprietary. Right? They're not going to tell us what the algorithm is.
We don't know anything about these algorithms, right?
Eric, I mean, to my knowledge, I don't know fuck all about it. I was just thinking this is turning into like a podcast about fucking UFOs and shit out here. Like the government is trying to keep us on social media.
Well, it's a platform that steal the algorithms, and you have to think about like, what do the platforms want, right?
They want us on the platform.
Yeah. They want us on the platform.
Full stop. Yeah.
And so the platforms are learning about you. Have you ever been on Facebook and felt like it was listening to your conversations. I have
all
felt that
done that.
way, to
We
the
have
point
all
where I
done
went and
that.
looked, is there any way Facebook can hear me? But it's
Uh-huh.
not. It's not. So, but what's happening is every move you make on any platform is informing the platform about who you are and who people like you are and what people like you like. And so if you're in terms of being a consumer on the platform, it's showing you things that it thinks that you like based on your behavior on that platform and behavior of people like you. And it's a very sophisticated mathematical model. And so that's why it seems like it's listening to your conversations. It's making predictions about who you are, your gender, your age, your race, everything about you, where you live, your political belief, everything. And so then it's fire hosing at you content that it thinks you're gonna like, or
So
that is going to.
that's my question, right?
Yes.
Is like we know that the algorithm is trying to bait us into not leaving the platform, whatever platform it is. You Google something and then that ad shows up on YouTube, which is fine. They're owned by the same company.
Yeah.
But you Google something and then it shows up on Facebook Marketplace, and you're like, how did it? Those are two separate entities.
Sure.
So they're clearly trading information. We know this. This is, but how does that affect our lizard brains, right? Like, how does that affect the medulla oblongata, whatever the fuck is going on in there? You know, so I want to know, like, does that? We talk about the echo chamber and being cornered in, you know, whatever corner of society over the internet you want to be in not leaving that corner. But how does that affect our ability to navigate the world when we're not staring at our phones?
Yes. So one thing that the algorithm does to our brains is it puts us on this sort of crazy treadmill. And so when we're posting on social media, so I'm going to take the perspective of an influencer like you guys, right?
Okay.
So you're posting different things. I think of the algorithm. Was that?
I said, I hate that word.
Sorry.
It's fine. It's fine. It's
okay.
what I am. I get it.
Yes, I know. Okay. So the algorithm, the metaphor that I use in terms of algorithm is it's like, and I'm curious of your thoughts on this, if this resonates. It's like playing a game, but you don't know the rules of this game. And the rules are going to change at any point during the game, but you don't know when they're going to change or how they're going to change. And so what happens for someone who is creating their brand or, you know, using social media from a marketing perspective in some way, of your influencer, what have you, is that it creates this stressful circumstance where you're trying to sort of guess at what the algorithm is going to, like, quote unquote, like. So what's going to get engagement, and what's going to get engagement is sort of changing. So we don't know what that algorithm is.
They never told you how it started either. Like, you don't know the rules to begin with, and you don't know when or how it's going to change over time. You know nothing.
And so it's in charge of those social media breadcrumbs that you're getting. And so it's going to toss you a few crumbs, likes, comments, that sort of thing. And it puts you on this sort of ever increasing speed treadmill where you're sort of chasing those things, but not really sure how to pull them in.
Right. So Eric, you and I have changed our posting behavior over time because we saw what worked. Right?
Many times.
There it is.
Give an example.
Early on in the Instagram game, I used to produce a particular style of video. Everything was double sped and everything was 1 second cuts. And I would typically move them in sets of 3. So there would be like an auditory rhythm to it, you know, like you'd be machine, hand tool, machine, hand tool.
Wow.
And
really?
It was very calculated.
Wow.
Because people could fall into that, like the I don't know, the drum-like nature of it. And I had people comment on that from time to time. And that stopped working. I don't remember when it was, but that stopped working probably around the same time that growing a brand as an influencer content creator became slicker. It was less about, you know, what you were doing in the long format of the video and just grabbing people's attention right away. And then it became more shock factory, for lack of a better word.
Mm.
Or like Sherry, that you were saying that you never know how the game is going to change and what's going to get good engagement or go viral, and that's absolutely true. But if there's one thing that you can absolutely bank on, there's two things that you know for sure that are never going to change. The more engagement a post gets, the higher likelihood that it's going to go viral, because you're engaging people on the platform and it's going to push that to a wider audience. That's never going to change. And the one emotion you can always bank on people for is rage.
Yes.
You can always bank on knowing how to make people angry. And if they're angry, they will comment. Sure. I hate doing that because nobody wants to be in those comment sections, but we do live in an attention economy. And if people are on your page for whatever it is, and they are commenting and getting eyeballs, then you are going to get paid more money from companies. So if that's your goal, that is a foolproof way to do it.
Eric, I feel like I'm like this naive babe in the woods, and you are like the experienced hunter who just shot me.
But everything he's saying is scientifically accurate, and that rage does produce clicks. Because if you think about any emotion that's going to move you to do something, rage is the one. You're most likely to, because it feeds like your impulsivity of like, you want to comment, you want to fight back, you can't help yourself. Someone says something, you're like, no, that's not right, and so I want to say something. Or you
bait
did that
people
wrong.
into a fight.
True.
Yeah.
And if they can't fight you, then they can at least comment on how they know better than you.
Yeah, but who wants to live like that?
So many people don't care. It's just about the clicks and about getting
so
paid.
sad.
There's this particular influencer. Do you guys know about the Dubai chocolate thing?
No.
I just learned about this about the other day. It's been going on for like a couple of years at this point, I guess. But so Dubai Chocolate is like a chocolate company or something of that nature, where it's effectively like a chocolate bar with pistachio cream filling, but it's like super gooey and super runny. And there's this one, what I'm getting to is there's this one influencer in Dubai who their entire job is just to eat shit in the car. And the more it has to be visually engaging, bright colors, interesting textures, it usually has to have some sound to it. So like gnawing on a gooey chocolate bar has a lot, that kind of thing to it. But this is their entire job, is to just get people to sit there and watch satisfying videos of them eating. It doesn't hurt that she's a very attractive person, but that is like, it's all just visual. It's all porn is what it is, right? Like it's just
the ASMR porn.
Food
how
porn.
can I get you to be satisfied by this thing that's happening in front of your face? And if you stay there and watch it, whether you engage because you're mad that this is how I make money, or you engage because you think I'm pretty, or you engage because you want to eat a chocolate bar, either way, the engagement, the virality all leads to that person getting paid. And
well,
I think people, that's all that matters.
Well, it's interesting because I think in addition to rage, the other thing that does sell is sex. Like things that are sexy.
Absolutely.
Definitely sell.
Oh,
and we'll get clicks because
there are so many viral things on Instagram, Facebook, whatever, where it's just like a funny video and it's gone viral because you open the comment section and 98% of the comments are just dudes being like, "What's her at though? Where's she at on the internet?" Yeah, because she's hot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And it happens the other way around. Listen, Bradley Thor, you guys know this clown? The guy who chops wood?
Oh, yeah.
You don't? Yeah. You know him. You've seen him.
Yes.
He's no fucking philosopher. Like, we know why people watch him, And that's fine. He's not like, he wears glasses and shit, tries to pretend. I'm sure he's a perfectly intelligent guy. I'm not shitting on him. But like, people are not watching him for his treatises. People are watching him because he has a six-pack and he chops wood good.
So this is our basic instincts, right? Well, I'll give it like a little story. So I used to blog about, I had a weight loss blog. So I was doing a lot of work in behavioral weight management. And so I have the page on Psychology Today and writing about different aspects of weight loss, diet, physical activity and stuff. And I started to notice that the posts that I make that mentioned sex or had anything related to sex would get way more views. And it did start to kind of make me think of like, how can I tie things to sex.
That's the algorithm.
Yes, the algorithm.
What you post.
Right. So I would talk about like, you know, how is food like porn, you know, like from addiction. And I found myself kind of like thinking of like, how can I create intersections?
We all do it.
Yeah. Oh,
that was a weak link, brother. I'll let you workshop that one.
You were being manipulated by the algorithm.
Yeah, and I can see that whenever you kind of bring that in, it brings viewers to the content, and you're like, whatever brings people into my content. But so when we think of like our basic instincts, sex, rage, you know, extreme emotions, those are going to bring attention. They bring our attention. That's affecting our brain, right?
This is like the
dopamine.
lowest common denominator.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Eric.
It is, but it's also, so were you making any money from that blog? Like, was it a business endeavor?
No.
I
was making $0.00. Yeah. So.
Okay. Well, so I'm thinking about this.
The goal of that blog?
So the purpose of that blog was that I was getting my ideas out there to try to put together a book for a book deal.
Okay.
Yeah.
And so getting more views was almost like a side quest, right? Like it wasn't affecting your bottom line. It was just and I don't say this accusatorily, so forgive me if this is the wrong verbiage to use, but like it was pure ego, right? You just wanted more eyeballs for the sake of more eyeballs.
I did want to expand my reach for sure, so that I would get more people interested in my ideas. And so it was really kind of, you know, using words and metaphors, you know, so like for the example, like I did a post about food addiction and talking about how, like, what does food and porn have in common? So just the word porn.
Yeah.
And like the whole post has nothing to do with porn.
But it blew up.
Well, so this is clickbait, right? Yeah.
Was bringing in so many views. And so, I did get sucked into that.
I do this. I struggle with this on YouTube now, because if I just put out a video that says, walnut wall hanging cabinet, like, I know my floor is at least good, 20,000 to 30,000 people will watch that video. If I put out a video like I did on Saturday that is me showing the L tenon, which is a technique a lot of people expressed interest in learning because they had never seen it before, and you title it "The Best Kept Secret in Woodworking?" ? Now all of a sudden that video has been out for 4 days. It's at like 90,000 views. Okay, great. That's a strong video. The amount of people, this is where it gets interesting to me. The amount of people who click on that video and then watch the video and then go to the comment section and complain about being clickbaited, or like just be like, well, it was good information, but why did you have to title it that way?
Did you get that, Eric?
Did you?
You got that?
Yeah. I get that with almost every video. Okay. But you know why I titled it that? Because you clicked on it. That's why, like, you're proving the point. Is if I do that, you click on it, and then you complain that I did it, but that thing is what got you to click on it. Because if I had titled it "Mitered Walnut Veneered Wall Cabinet," you would have been like, I don't, like, that's not interesting.
I hate it, and I understand it all at the same time. I wish it didn't have to come to that. So, speaking about what works with the algorithm, Eric, you're talking about a compelling title, and Sherry, you've mentioned like the word sex or anything alluding to the word sex. Early on in social media, and this is specific to Instagram, I kind of handled it in a scientific way. I used to download it back in the day. You could actually download information directly from Instagram's data servers. You were allowed to do that. You could connect to them, download huge swaths of data. It was open at the time. And then you could analyze that data. So what I would do back then is I would take a woodworker who was doing like really, really well in social media, and I would download their data directly into a spreadsheet. And then I would sort their posts by day, by time, by number of likes, by number of comments. And then what I would get is a graph over time, every post they've ever made, like 1,000 posts or two, whatever. And each of those has data associated with it, right? And I would sort their 1,000 posts. Let's say you had 1,000 posts. I would sort them by the number of likes and comments. And I would look at the top 10. And I would say, what is it about these top 10 that is so different from some other randomly selected posts? And I started to categorize a list of about 5 to 7 attributes that I kept recognizing in the posts that performed versus those that didn't in one account. Right. So that kind of like within one account, it kind of normalizes the data. And I came away with a list of like 5 to 7 like best practices. Now, this is in the early days of Instagram. And I copied them. I mimicked it.
You scienced how to be a cool kid is what you did.
did.
You're like, cool kids wear these jeans and backwards hats.
Eric, my account went from 2,000 followers to 20,000 followers in a week.
Wow.
Sure.
In a week or two. Like, that's how I like that. In part, that's how I built my audience. But then I started thinking, yeah, but that's bullshit. Are these the right people I want? Are these the people who want my art, who want to buy my stuff, who are interested in woodworking, or are they just clickbaity follows? You know? So yes, it got me some numbers really fast, but it was the wrong people. Now, let's set that aside because those days are gone.
That's such an interesting point, though.
Okay, go ahead. Do you want to say something?
Because having the foundation of an audience leads to other opportunities, which allows you to set aside the type of audience that you don't want to have. So it's a problem of luxury, right?
That's true.
A problem of excess. And there are so many starving artists in any medium, right? Painting, sculpture, drawing, whatever it is, woodworking, who are like, if I could just get eyeballs on my work. Yeah. And they're taught this kind of, and I'm not trying to pick on you, Paul, in this moment, but just like the art school, like holier than thou, like you're better than social media, don't be clickbaity, your work will speak for itself. And then they're eating peanut butter and jellies out of their van for 10 years before they give up and like take a job at Urban so that they can continue to fucking make a box once a year, because they didn't do the thing to get enough eyeballs on their work to have the problem of, are these the right eyeballs?
Yes. Well, what you're talking about, did they do the work to get the eyeballs? That's about sales and marketing.
Yeah, it's a different thing from making.
That's not about being a woodworker. That is sales. I did it through data analysis. Right. That's my strong suit. So that's what I did. You know, I downloaded data, I analyzed data, and I followed the data.
But that's exactly what social media marketing people do. There's a whole career to that. They work for companies and figure out how do we get eyeballs on whatever is our project. So our product. So like you're doing that kind of on a, independent.
I did.
Businessman perspective. But all the big companies, they're doing that.
That's true.
To an extensive degree.
And so like that whole technique, even though it was 15 years ago, that's not any different than what's happening now.
No, it's just they don't make the data so easily available.
Sure. But like you can, if you hop on YouTube and you just look for the most viral videos and look at the thumbnails,
it's true.
All Mr. Beast thumbnails or that style of thumbnail. Yeah. They're all the same type of title. Like you see a thing that works and you take the top 5 or top 10 and then you copy it. And then that spreads because people are just trying to find the eyeballs.
All right, Eric, with regards to your last point, this is the other thing I wanted to get to is like, it feels, I think for a lot of people, not just you and me who, indulge in social media and Sherry for that matter. It feels, I think for most quote unquote people or like normal people, that the bar is so high in terms of the quality of social media to get noticed now. Mm-hmm. It almost seems unthinkably high. I see videos by people that get a lot of likes, whether it's the woodworking space or almost any space. Mm-hmm. And they're so well done. It's like the cinematography is amazing. Mm-hmm. The photography is amazing. The editing is amazing. The sound's amazing. It's current. It appeals to the algorithm. It keeps your interest. And I just feel like there's so many people now who want to build an audience and they look at that and say, Jesus Christ, like, where do I even start with that? The bar is so high to get noticed now. Do you feel like that?
Yes, it is. And I'm trying to think of the right analogy. So like we've all been to a tap room, like a brew pub, a brewery, and you show up there at Wednesday at 2 p.m. and there's 12 people in there. Like, you might be having a conversation with your buddy, but you also hear two people down the bar having an interesting conversation. Then you're like, oh shit, I was actually just at that place a couple of weeks ago. You start talking, you become friends. That was Instagram in the era that you're talking about, right? Like, it was less crowded, there was less noise. You go to that same brewery at Friday at 9:00 at night, and it is like, it's standing room only. There's so much noise, there's so much conversation happening, you can barely hear your friends. But sometimes you hear somebody who's telling a story, and just the way they're telling it with so much charisma, and they know how to grab people's attention, they know how to keep people's attention, and then all of a sudden you're like, well, I want to hear what this fucking guy's talking about, and you're just listening to them tell a story. That feels like social media now. It's like, in order to grab somebody's attention, there's so much stimuli happening all over the place all of the time simultaneously, that you have to not just be a good storyteller, because being a good storyteller means you understand story structure, and you start at point A, get to point B, and resolve at point C. You have to grab people at point B, which is why people have cold opens, which is what we did at the beginning of this fucking episode. Like, how do you get people to click on the thing and then go, oh, I want to hear the rest of this thing?
Sure. How do you feel about that example of, like, Eric gives a great metaphor?
Yeah, I think that's a great metaphor.
Do you feel like that is your experience?
I think, yeah, definitely. And one thing that I'll add to it also is people who, and I have an example in my mind that I've seen kind of in like my own interest area, is like, sometimes there's a voice that hits the moment. And it's saying something that maybe no one has said, and it just strikes the moment when there's people thinking about a certain subject matter that hasn't been talked about enough, and it takes off. So, like, examples might be like Mel Robbins. Like, she took off in a very short period of time because she had a message that resonated in the moment. And there's another influencer that just went from a nobody to on every talk show, every big podcast, because she one day over the summer opened up Instagram and started talking about menopause. I know this is like a chick topic, but like, and
sorry, we know menopause exists. Sorry.
Yeah. But like, it's just an example of, she found a lane, and it hit kind of that lightning in the bottle, like that nerve, and that people hadn't seen it quite set in a certain way. And then so people can go in a very short period of time from 0 to on the Today Show, because they just hit the right moment at the right time. Now, how to plan that is probably impossible, but like that sometimes is a piece of it too. It's like,
I don't think you can plan it. And
no.
here's where I'm going to
serendipity
prove this point. There are a number of accounts that post the exact same video every single day.
Oh,
the one that comes up on my feed the most, because I always watch it every time it comes up, because it's genuinely fucking hilarious. I can't remember the name of the girl, but it was like one of those drunk street interviews kind of situations, and this girl was clearly like slammed, and the dude's like, what would you do if you won the lottery? And she like tries to articulate that she would buy a buffet, like a Chinese food buffet, but she A, can't, and B, is stuffing her face with some kind of gooey food. It's hilarious. She's very pretty. The video is hilarious. This account posts the same video every single day for like a year.
Wow.
Wait,
and
literally the same video?
Literally the same video. And the title is very simply like day 97, day 142. That's it. That's like the
same identical video.
The exact same video. And some of the videos get 500 likes and 3 comments. And it's like almost clockwork, like once every other month, every few like dozen posts, it blows up and it gets 400,000 likes and, a couple thousand comments, because it's hitting a whole new wave of people who haven't seen that video before. So it's just like, if there's a more pure example of how it's just random chance, I don't know what it is.
Well, I also wonder if that's like part of the mysteriousness of the algorithm, where the moment in time where something just sort of takes off, and because I'm assuming like the algorithm somehow is pushing that into feeds of people for whom have clicked, a lot on a certain topic. So it's hard to kind of pinpoint, but that I think that's a great example of how mysterious the algorithm is how you could post the same thing so many times. Sometimes it's viral and sometimes it's not.
I really want to find this account now. Keep talking. I'm going to look for it.
That's very
I guess
interesting.
the risk here is we talked about, we don't know what the algorithm is. We try to intuit it just from watching whether it's analyzing data or watching what goes, and you kind of parrot it. And the question was like, does it change your behavior of how you post? Does it change your behavior of how you consume? And does it lead to burnout? Like if you're chasing it, does it impact your self-esteem and lead to burnout?
Yeah, so I think chasing the algorithm is just going to be inherently stressful because you're playing this game that you don't know the rules to.
That's right.
And there is this element that seems sort of unpredictable about it, in Eric's example. And so you're just on this treadmill of like trying to figure out how do I, hit pay dirt, and I have no idea. And so you're just firing things off. And so I think that definitely could lead to burnout because especially to the extent that nothing you're trying is really working that well. You're never hitting the pay. Like the people that we're talking about are, probably like the 1%, right? But most people are not having that kind of.
Okay. So as a psychologist, how do you think that chasing the algorithm, chasing what will get noticed, how do you think as a psychologist, this affects our sense of self and our self-esteem?
Well, I think in a few ways. I think one way that it could affect us is that we start to drift away from our purpose. Because so let's say you're a woodworker and you have a certain lane that you're really passionate about. And then the algorithm comes by and tells you what's popular and what's not. And it starts to drift you in a certain direction that maybe you would not normally go. So you're sort of chasing algorithm rather than maybe where you started off or where you wanted to go with your craft.
So you're saying like it's like your real world persona versus your online persona, and these two things are forming separately, and one might be drifting.
Yeah, I think you can drift away from who you are by chasing an algorithm, like whatever the subject matter that you're talking about. You start to drift because you're sort of becoming a slave to the algorithm rather than when you're a creative person, you both are creative people. Where are your ideas coming from? Like set aside social media, like
not from the algorithm.
No, it's
not from social media.
No.
But where is it coming from?
Real world.
I don't know where it comes from.
Like when you have next project, what are you thinking about? Like,
God, there's so many other stimuli. There's observation, there's research, and none of that happens on social media.
Mm-hmm.
Because what I don't want to do is make the same shit everybody else is making. But I also understand from a business perspective that puts me at a disadvantage because that means that I don't have the same, like there are moments, everybody chasing virality. If you hit it just right and you get a viral video, especially on YouTube, even still in 2025, if you really get something that goes viral, that can change your entire career.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And that's what people are trying to do. Nobody's trying to be a base hitter anymore. Everybody's trying to be a home run hitter. So we're all playing the same game, and then the bar gets overly loud. And so you then have to play the same game in order to be a part of the conversation. And by taking inspiration from other places, that immediately puts me at a disadvantage.
Eric, how do you square this idea of like being authentically yourself in the real world versus your online persona, who you appear to be, who you represent yourself to be, who you are as you chase numbers online? How do you keep those separate or stay true to who you are?
Something I heard a few years ago, and I can't remember who said it, but it helped me kind of quell some of the anxieties about this, is anytime you put a camera in front of a person or an audience in front of a person, whatever it is, and they are genuinely themselves, and most people start out genuinely themselves. They're the people they're the Pee Wee Hermans of the world who play characters, but most people start out as themselves. And then as they find what works, if you're a comedian, it's getting engagement from the audience. If you're a content creator, it's getting clicks, whatever it is. You become a more exaggerated version of yourself. So I don't think who I am on the internet and who I am when you and I are sitting down at a bar and having a beer and talking about life are different people. But I do recognize they're close, but they're not the same.
They're not the same.
Right?
They're close.
And the one becomes an exaggerated version of certain aspects of my personality because it's impossible, regardless of how much you try, it is impossible to contain the entirety of somebody's humanity in a 20-minute video.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Cher, have you ever felt like that? Have you ever felt like your online persona, the Dr. Sherry Pagoto, was at odds with who you were personally?
I would say it's my professional self, but anybody's professional self is different than the personal self. And part of that, and that's not always bad.
No.
There are things that you don't talk about at work or in your professional spheres because it's inappropriate, you know? So it's not always bad.
That's true.
But it can go south and it can kind of go in a negative way because what people are seeing, they may, because I think this is the thing about social media is so you're sitting in your basement or your house. We're sitting in Paul's house. So we seem like this is our real selves, right? And it is our real selves, but don't be fooled that like this is our real lives in all of the colors that we experience.
Right. And that's what I mean. Right.
Yeah. And so I think it's more the viewer needs to understand that even though it seems like there's this relatability to people that you see online and they're posting from their own homes, they look like us, they're normal, they talk like us. It doesn't mean that this is their whole real lives. We don't necessarily portray every aspect of our lives. Like when we're feeling depressed or when we have failures and things like that, we're not necessarily like projecting all of that. And of course we're not. That's not necessarily like specific to what your brand is and that sort of thing. But I think from the viewer standpoint, they think like, this is Eric's life. He's like this amazing person and he's always happy and he's
constantly traveling to interesting places and doing all these things. So yeah, I'm fucking tired, bro.
Yes. Like everything he creates is amazing. Paul is like a genius. Like everything he creates is amazing. But you have to remember as a viewer that these are real people that have real problems and to not as a viewer to kind of compare yourself and think like everyone's more productive. Everyone's more creative. No one has problems. No one is sad. No one has failures and disasters and that sort of thing. Cause we all do. It's just that of course you're not going to always parade that around when we're talking about a certain subject matter.
And I think the professional parallel is a really good one because like, so I was a teacher. I think we talked about that last time. And let's take the kid aspect out of it. Let's say I'm a college teacher. So I'm teaching adults, right? Masters, PhDs, whatever. If I came into work and was just like absolutely just a fucking wreck, like hungover, like shit was terrible. And I was just like, guys, you just got to understand I'm going through it right now. Like, I don't think Dr. Curtis is doing so hot. I think maybe he needs a leave of absence. You know, because that's
right,
not
report you.
Yeah, because that's not the professional place to do that. That's not how that relationship works.
So we all know that the social media is kind of like the highlight reel of our lives, right? What I think 98% of people, 99% of people use social media as the highlight reel. You show your best vacation pics. You show the right angles. You show the best project that worked out the best. You show
you don't show the time you and your wife got in a fight because the walk was too long and she was hangry and it started raining.
but while that is the overwhelming norm, 99 point something %, there is a new economy of people who milk failure and milk the other side. Right? It's like they're using their trauma to get clicks, and everyone flocks to it saying, "Oh my God, finally, I can relate to this. Yes, this sucks. I'm depressed all the time. I couldn't even like. I've seen like these influencers like, they talk real flat affect. They're like, so I just woke up and I had a major win today. I put on my socks. And you're like, you're waiting for it, and you're like,
and it never comes.
and like people are like, yes, girl, I feel that. I feel you. Thank you for speaking your truth. There's like a whole new creator economy around trauma.
I think there's a place for this though. So as a mental health professional, I will say, and I'll use TikTok as an example, and Gen Z. So we're Gen X.
No, let's shit on Gen Z. I love this.
Yeah. Oh no, I'm not going to shit on Gen Z.
Oh, that's
compliment
disappointing.
Gen Z.
Okay.
I could shit on them, but right now I'm going to compliment them. Like, so in Gen X, like we were never allowed to talk about mental health issues. Like everyone pretended like it didn't even exist.
Don't be
so much stigma.
Yeah.
Particularly if you're a man.
Sure.
But like in Gen Z, I think like, and TikTok was part of this, they destigmatized mental illness. Like there's influencers, my daughter shows me, like there's influence, like you name the mental illness and there's an influencer, and the power of that. And there's actually some like artists, I think like Kid Cudi was one of them, who talked about his depression online and it went viral. And so like, I think there's value to that. The danger for the influencer though, is that if your online identity is your trauma or your depression, you got to be careful that this is going to hamper your ability to move on. And
1000%.
Yeah. And so you don't want your identity to be mired into your mental illness per se, especially to the extent that is affecting your own healing. And so if that's what's getting your clicks, I'd worry a little bit about folks who are doing that in terms of, are
only a little bit.
Well, it could be a lot of it, depending on, I mean, if it's a chronic mental illness that they're living with, for example, if like you have autism or you have ADHD, you're living with that your whole life, Tourette syndrome.
Sure.
Depression is episodic. Anxiety can sometimes be episodic, but some illnesses are lifelong. And so to kind of give a window into like what it's like, but you want to be sure that like your identity doesn't necessarily become that. And social media can sort of reinforce that. It's like, all I am is my ADHD, for example, or like,
well, sure. So I heard, again, I don't remember who said this, but I've heard it said that people stop emotionally maturing at the age, whatever age it is that they get famous, which is why like child actors like become so fucked up generally, because like you become famous at 11 for The Sandlot, and then all of a sudden like you're just that character for the rest of your life. And how do you mature past that? It's a phenomenal movie, all-timer.
It's really good.
But so social media is effectively giving us that in smaller doses, and some people do strike it huge, right? Like that's part of the game. That's part of the lottery that you're going after. And so when people like ADHD is one thing, autism is one thing, but when people, like you said, episodic things like depression, when that becomes what you're known for, and not to knock necessarily the people in the comments saying I identify with them, because there's a new crop of depressed people all the time. Right? Like people constantly go through shit, and it's the same reason we listen to sad music when we're sad. We want that kind of confirmation, that affirmation. Yeah. But the people who do make that their identity, because what else, like if you grow an audience because you're going through a tough period of time, and then all of a sudden you're like, everything's happy and fine now. What do you have to make content about?
Yeah.
What are you going to talk about? Because that was the thing, that was the catalyst for the conversation.
That was like Sailing with Phoenix, this kid, right? And his cat who like, he's like, fuck this, I'm going to quit my job.
Oh, the guy who sailed across the Pacific?
Remember?
Yeah.
He got super famous overnight because he was a rebel. I'm going to throw it all on the line. I've never sailed before. I'm going to learn how to sail. I'm going to buy a boat. I'm going to cash in all my money. I'm going to buy this boat. I'm going to take my damn cat, and we're going to sail across the Pacific alone. And I don't know what I'm doing. Let's do it. And the world tuned in. He got so famous so fast. Well, I've been following him since. What happened? Well, he reached Hawaii, and he's enjoying Hawaii for like months, and he sails from little inlet to little inlet around Hawaii, and he works on his boat, and it's boring as shit.
Yep.
Because like all the angst and the risk of like that big, I'm gonna sail across the Pacific Ocean, quit my job because fuck this, that's all gone. Just like you're saying, like I'm not sure what's next. He says he's gonna sail around the rest of the world, but we're kind
It's
of
not gonna
Well, I
happen.
wonder
If he
if that
hasn't done
goal-
it yet, it's not gonna happen.
Well, and I wonder if that goal is just because he got a lot of attention for it the first time. Like that would make a great movie, but for a social media long term,
And when it happens in life hours, like it takes fucking forever. Yeah. It's so that's the kind of thing where I think this is the same reason why people, and I don't want to sound like an asshole right now, but this is we are 45 episodes too late for that. I think this is why people who don't know what they're doing, who start YouTube channels, like woodworking channels specifically, they have a much higher ceiling than people like you and I, because the drama of the learning and the failing, we've already done that. And you can't manufacture it very well. You can, but it comes off as cheesy and scripted. Yeah. Whereas like somebody who like doesn't really know how to use table saw and genuinely gets kicked back and takes it to the stomach, like that's a good cold open because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. Yeah. Meanwhile, I'm out here cutting 2.5-inch rip cut plywood in fucking L bracket in it, and just put pressure in the right place and then you won't fucking die. And people are like, how could you? Like the drama's gone. Like I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, that's a good point. All right, I want to change to our last topic that I think is really compelling, which is real world versus online world. Let's draw the distinction. And I want to start by saying, Eric, Sherry, what happens if you are in the grocery store and you accidentally run into someone? Sherry, what do you say to that person?
Who am I running into?
It's just, no, I don't.
No, that is a critical question,
really
Sherry.
No.
Matter.
This is
is
a stranger.
No.
Am I seeing them from 30 feet, turning around and going down a different aisle?
I don't mean run into someone
my hair done.
Oh my god, you guys are the worst.
How am I looking? How am I feeling? What's good? Are they cute? Who is this person?
You're at the grocery store and you're turning around to get something and you accidentally elbow a stranger.
Okay.
What do you do?
I elbow a stranger. I feel like, oh, sorry.
Okay, Eric, what do you do? What do you say?
I'm so sorry. You know, I usually, this is the thing that I instinctively do that I've had to check myself because some people get uncomfortable. I'll usually touch them like where I'm so sorry, kind of where I elbowed them.
Okay.
And then some people give me good looks.
I might say, will you marry me? But that never works.
So
not yet. Don't give up on that dream.
All right, so I want to contrast that response. Both of you said the same thing. I'm so sorry. Oh my god, so sorry. Right? To the way we behave online behind a keyboard. How do you behave? How do people behave online behind a keyboard of the wall of anonymity? Fuck you! You don't know what you're talking about. You're such a loser. Like, it's not this courteous.
Yes.
It's not courteous. People are keyboard warriors at home. Eric, you got tons of these people.
Sure.
Now, there are a lot of nice people who leave a lot of nice comments. I'm not negating that.
Yeah, but we have a negativity bias.
There's a lot of nasty people. There's a lot of trolling out there. A lot of people, not necessarily in the woodworking community. I'd say in general, the woodworking community is pretty good. But we know that everyone's a keyboard warrior out there on Reddit when they're anonymous. So it's like, let me get this straight. When you're not anonymous and you're face to face with a complete stranger and you accidentally elbow them, no harm involved. You're so apologetic. Oh, please excuse me. I'm so sorry. But somehow when you're anonymous behind the curtain of online behavior, you're a total fucking dick.
But this is not limited to online behavior. You know, like this is, so you have mischief night, right? The night before Halloween. Why do you think everybody dresses in masks? So you don't know who the fuck they are, and they're more free to do whatever the fuck they want because you can't identify them. This is why I think it's just a part of human nature. If you can't be identified, you are freer to be the worst version of yourself because there is a lesser chance of repercussion.
Eric is a psychologist, basically. You're 100% right in that it's because the thing about being anonymous is that we can't really experience consequences of our behavior because no one can tie it to who we are. And so then we're disinhibited. And so that's why online people act in ways that they would never act if they were right in front of your face. They would make comments that they would never say if they were standing right in front of you. And so that's kind of the worst part of social media, is that conversations devolve because that anonymity makes people feel free to kind of say things that they wouldn't normally say because they're not going to experience social consequences. Because if they were to say that to your face, you might punch them out. I don't know. But you would, even if you didn't punch them out, your nonverbals, the look on your face, even the feeling in the room, it would get quiet because everyone would be like, "What?"
That changes things. How many times have you had conversations with somebody that you know and love and care about over text, and it's getting a little, contentious, and then even right after that exchange happens, you're both angry now about something, and that if you had that conversation in person, the conversation would have gone entirely different. And this is somebody you know and care about and love in real life. And you just there's something about the chemical exchange, the air in the room, whatever it is that happens when you're discussing those things face.
And I think it's because we're not taking in the nonverbal feedback that we get from other humans. So if I'm talking to you in person, I'm seeing the emotion on your face. I'm seeing whether you're tense, your body language and that sort of thing. And that feedback affects my behavior.
Yep.
Without that feedback, and you're totally right about text. We're all guilty of it. You're a little more harsh on text because we don't have that feedback, controlling our behavior or affecting how we want to act towards that person. And so that online, when you don't even know the other person, it's even more freeing to kind of let loose and unsolicited feedback, negativity, or even it could go the other way where people are super flirtatious or inappropriate.
Oh, totally.
Where you're just whoa, this person went 0 to 100 really fast, because they don't have to experience the social consequence. They don't have to see your reaction. They don't have to see the reaction of people in a room.
That's true.
I think about this sometimes because I have received my number of we'll say genitalia photographs. and this goes both ways. This is not gender specific. This goes both ways.
Oh.
And so coming through on Instagram, I do think about that. So what if you had just dropped trow in a public space and just you're hey, what's good, Playboy? This what you want, cowboy? That's not, that's not a thing that would, and if it did happen, that person would obviously be arrested. But
let me ask you, how many people have dropped trow in front of you? Probably 0, right?
0, yeah. So, but for some reason, that the lack of consequence, and in this case, the consequence is the awkwardness of the interaction that happens right after. It's it disinhibits these people to just be let me just shoot my shot. It's that's your shot? You could have opened with anything.
Well, Eric, I'm not sure what to say.
Eric's DMs sound very interesting.
It's a wild game out there.
You got to take a peek when you get a chance. He'll show you his DMs.
Oh, yeah.
It's entertaining.
I've already asked Derek a lot.
My DMs are boring. Oh, man.
Okay, so we've touched on many differences between the online behavior and real world behavior, right? We've covered neurotransmitters, how they are online versus real world. We talked about dopamine versus oxytocin. We've talked about authentic behavior versus performative behavior. Are you being true to yourself versus performing for the algorithm as you chase, we've talked about bad behavior. Are you being bad online because you're anonymous?
Yeah, you are, but
versus not. Go ahead, Eric.
So I knowing all of this about social media, all of the things we've discussed, the negative impacts it can have on people's behavior, the way it can alter the consumer's brain chemistry, the way it can alter the creator's brain chemistry.
Yep.
The question of ethics about creating content is something that I've been sitting with a lot lately.
Okay.
Because I don't think what we're doing is inherently bad for people. But it's impossible, at least at this point, for me to disentangle what I'm doing from the negative components of it. So it's like,
give me an example. The ethics, like what the good.
The ethics.
Sorry.
So
good is easy. You're teaching people how to woodwork.
I'm teaching,
right?
and I think there's real value in self-empowerment. People are learning how to make things. People are learning how to find their voice. All of these, the community
what are
aspect
the bad
of it.
things that you're concerned about?
Well, for my job, in order to pay my mortgage, I effectively have to clickbait people. Like I have to incorporate corporate sponsorships. I have to get people to engage on a platform that is designed to draw them in and feed them addictive behaviors and reinforce their best addictive behaviors. So like, in order for me to go post on Instagram, this is a thing I'm very aware of. I might go on Instagram at 10:30 to post something, to respond to a friend. Like, Paul, you might DM me and I go on there just to respond. And then, oops, it's an hour and a half later. I'm like, fuck, it's midnight. Like, I got to get up in the morning. And so the same thing from the content creator perspective of like, I am putting out what I think is valuable information in a package that is laced with reinforcing people's addictive behaviors.
Because it's the only way you get paid.
Because it's the only way that I can make money doing what I think I am best at in the world.
So, Eric, how are you different than any other company in the United States who's participating in capitalism?
Wow, I was not prepared for that question. Well,
Is this how
I don't
people
know.
make a living? This is how we make a living.
Sure. And so, like,
Coca-Cola is selling you advertisements and giving you a product that's laced with sugar and other substances.
And Coke might be a more appropriate parallel, but the parallel that I was thinking of are basically like opioids, or if that's too strong, maybe beer, right? Like let's just take beer. Okay, let's go with beer.
Yeah.
So let's take a brewer, for example. Maybe this person. No. Let's take somebody who actually makes good fucking.
No. I was going to use Budweiser because it's a terrible product, and yet they succeed in the marketplace because of marketing and all these insidious.
Fair.
Goes the Budweiser sponsorship.
I was taking. I know, Christ.
Sorry, Budweiser.
I was going to take the other side of it of like, let's take a small brewer, somebody who is really good at their craft, mastered their craft, and somebody who really fucking loves beer. Like, who is just like, I love making beer. I love the social aspect of beer. Like, people go to bars to socialize with their friends, and we constantly bemoan that nobody's out there socializing with real fucking meat and flesh human beings anymore, right? Yeah. So they're creating an atmosphere of friendship and utility, and they do this thing that I think is good for the world. It's an ancient tradition, right? This beer has been around longer than furniture has. It is ingrained in our DNA as
that's
people.
What we do.
It's a part of how we survived as a species, right?
Yeah.
It gave us clean water to drink, and it padded out our caloric needs for the day. Like, beer is integral to the success of humanity, and yet there are people
drink more beer.
There are people who have addictions to alcohol.
Yeah,
we have a name for this.
Driving home, and
who kill other people because X, Y, or Z related to alcohol.
Yeah.
And so they might not be sitting with ethical considerations of what it means to create this substance that can destroy so many lives. I've seen it destroy lives in my family because I come from a strong lineage of alcoholics. So how do you square doing this thing that you both love? And there are positive aspects too, right? Like, that is one of our first fundamental places. Campfire and sitting around drinking beer and telling stories. That's who we are as a species. And yet you are also creating an atmosphere where people can destroy their lives with the product in the space that you're creating.
But do you think what you're promoting with woodworking is the same? I mean, I feel like
no,
your product is sort of less controversial
The
than
negatives are less negative.
yeah, like
I
would feel
agree.
like
I
you're elevating
Well, Eric,
teaching.
but I
question
think
was-
the social media aspect of it is the part where it's like, so I'm
Yeah.
teaching people, but I'm using this vehicle that is designed to manipulate them.
Okay, I suppose I come back to what Sherry said, which is how is that different than all of capitalism? Like almost every job, almost everything we do has pros and cons associated with it, and they're laced together in that you can't unravel them necessarily. And you just said, Eric, how do we square taking in the positives with the associated negatives? And that's because you have a conscience. Like you're saying, like, I feel bad about the negatives. I feel bad. But you know what? Does the company that does the 3D printing company that puts out a 3D printer feel bad about all the plastic waste they're going to put in this world that won't biodegrade for the next 50,000 years? I don't know. Do they? Do the epoxy companies feel bad at night? Yeah, I mean, all of these things come part and parcel with positives and negatives. And I feel like you're being, I mean, I don't know how in general how people feel about handling the negatives, but you have a conscience, which is why I think you're struggling with the negatives.
Yeah, and I think like even before social media, there was always marketing, and it took different forms, whether it was television, radio, billboards. There's all kinds of different marketing, and it was designed in the same way to capture attention. Whatever forms of media are available, there's always going to be marketing. And so I think if anyone should be struggling with conscience, it would more be the platforms in terms of the algorithms that are creating the addictive nature. You're creating
It's not my
something
fault
that's
I'm an
effective.
addict. It's somebody else's.
Yeah, like well, you're promoting a product that is not there. I can't see like a negative angle to like what you guys are doing. Whereas like maybe if you're promoting alcohol, like there, it's a different story because like there's cancer risks, there's like addiction risks and things like that. But like the product that you're promoting doesn't seem to have any inherent bad value. I don't feel like you should take on the guilt. That's actually more the responsibility of the platform and how they produce that algorithm, their lack of transparency and their business practices. That's on them. And we're just functioning within that ecosystem.
I don't disagree.
Yeah.
I don't disagree. And I want to say this is not a thing that's like keeping me up at night. It's just a thing that I'm like, I do think it is our responsibility to contend with the moral and ethical dilemmas of the things that we put into the world.
Yeah.
And if not, then the only thing that matters is how much money you make. And that's not a life I want to live. But also, like that's how you end up with food porn on the internet. Like it just becomes an addictive cycle.
Well, and I think also like I think it's important for users of social media, whether you're a content creator or a consumer of it, to be aware of how these platforms operate, the decisions that they're making, whether there are aspects of their business plan that might be toxic, and pushing back on that where it needs to be pushed back on. Not to be blind to it, I guess. Inform yourself about how do these platforms work, what are the things that are kind of not ethical that they're doing, and like being engaged in that, being aware of that. But I don't feel like there's anything inherently sort of toxic about leveraging the various forms of media that are available to us, even though there are aspects of social media that can be toxic. And maybe we're going to transition shortly into kind of like how can we become healthier consumers of social media to where we can protect ourselves from the toxic aspects of it. And I think this is where users, whether you're a consumer or a creator, can take control over protecting yourselves from those negative aspects.
All right. So Sherry, you said it. We've talked a lot about the risks associated with social media and the negatives. Well, let's end on a positive note.
Yeah.
Let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater. Like, some people quit social media, right? They're like, I love the announcement posts. If any listeners have done the announcement posts, oh, I love it. I absolutely eat it up. I'm quitting Instagram, so you guys won't be hearing from me ever again. I'm just going to take a break, right?
And then 3 months later, they're back.
Exactly.
So more like 1 week later, they're like,
Yeah.
So we have the announcement quitters, right, who always inevitably come back. And I'm sure there's someone out there who's like, I never came back. But
well, they won't be listening.
Everyone always comes back to social media. So let's not throw the baby out with the bathwater here, right? It's here to stay. I think it's a net positive. So then the question becomes, short of just quitting, what can we do? What are some behaviors we can engage in, Sheriff, from a psychological point of view that just can make this whole thing healthier for us?
Yeah. So to your point, there are some people who do the detox, and it's not a bad thing, but social media is kind of the new town square. So we kind of have to live with it and figure out what our relationship with this is going to be. So one thing I would say as a consumer of social media is to curate your feed. So we don't have to take in all the algorithm is throwing at us. We can actually be very proactive. And so I think of this in two ways: is curate your feed in terms of what's consistent with your values, and second, how content makes you feel. So in terms of values, let's take values.
So many boob jokes.
So many boob jokes. I don't know what they are, but I have to. But anyways, not jokes. But anyways, you guys really take things off track. But anyways, so like values. So values is like, are things that because here, like we talked about earlier, you click on something once and you're going to get a fire hose of that content. Like I remember I was scrolling.
That's right.
And there's like a reel about like a tsunami. And I'm like, oh, that's interesting. I'd never seen, like, I want to see a tsunami hit something. And next thing you know, I'm getting all these tsunami reels. Like, I don't want to like spend my life staring at tsunamis. So being very mindful about, is the content that I'm clicking on consistent with my values? Am I learning from it? Is it making me a better person? Is it improving my craft? Is it somehow elevating me?
And muting the people who bring you irritation on an almost daily basis.
Well, and that's the emotions driven approach. So, and I do
talk
this
about me like that,
think
Paul.
about
Okay.
what I'm looking at. Is it making me feel better? Is it making me feel motivated, or is it making me feel angry? So the rage. Am I getting baited into rage? Is it making me feel sad? Is it keeping me stuck in a negative mood that I might be in? Because if you are in a negative mood and you click on something, that's going to produce more content about that, be mindful that this may be sort of like cementing you in that headspace. So thinking like, how can I unfollow, not click, resist the urge to click on things that are making me feel bad, so that your feed, and this can even come down to people that you follow. So we did a study. A graduate student of mine led it, and we looked at people who sever ties on social media. So this is where you're unfollowing or unfriending people. Mm-hmm. And we wanted to know, is this a good thing or is this a bad thing? Because on the one hand, some people are like, oh, if you unfollow a lot of people, you create an echo chamber. But what we found was that people who actually do more trimming of their social media following and like what they're looking at actually feel better about their social media experience, because they're putting negativity out of their daily scrolling habits. And then they're just preserving things that make them feel.
Now, whether they're in an echo chamber or not is not the point. It's just that they report feeling better.
Right. Like, so you don't have to feel compelled to listen to things that don't make you feel good just because you're like, oh, I don't want to be in an echo. Like that whole echo chamber thing. I don't know how I feel about that, because like you don't necessarily want to be surrounded by things that make you feel bad. It's one thing to like, expose yourself to different viewpoints, but that doesn't mean you have to expose yourself to negativity.
Yeah. To think that make you feel rage on a daily basis.
Yeah. So think about your values, think about your moods. You don't want your social experience social media experience to make you feel like crap. That's when we see, you see these studies like social media can like be associated with depression, anxiety, and that sort of thing, or like feeling bad about your body or like whatever you're looking at. So I think taking a more mindful approach can be helpful.
All right. So
how do you guys go about curating what you're looking at? I know you're producers, but how do you curate what you're looking at?
I mute or I unfollow.
I do. I'm a big
I do it all the
mute,
time.
unfollow, block.
I wish that I was mindful enough to do some of that. What I've noticed is, interestingly, over the last 2 months or so, my entire algorithm has changed, which is really interesting. Well, I mean, we don't have to get into it in a public space, but what happened 2 months ago.
Yeah.
And like almost overnight, my entire feed on Instagram changed.
Huh.
I don't, and so this is right.
Eric,
so this is
talk
where
about that in the after show.
Sure. I feel like most of our patrons are also patrons of mine, so they know what's going on. But that's one of those moments where you feel the ghost in the machine of like, what did I do?
Yeah.
Or how did it know? Because it felt like literally overnight, the types of reels that I was getting fed went from one side of the relationship coin to the other side of it. And it was like,
fair enough.
It's almost fascinating.
Yes. It's like I've had that same experience too. And it's definitely like tracking like what you're clicking on. And then it can keep you kind of mired in that headspace.
Yes.
And at some point you're going to be like, I need to resist the temptation to click on anything that's going to keep this fire hose of this subject matter because I need to move forward. And it's kind of preventing that. So that and it's hard because you're attracted to things that you resonate with, but you want to be careful that like, if it's resonating with something that I'm struggling with, then it may be locking me in that situation.
And it's really interesting to me how like in that particular moment, you're kind of spiraling, but like impulsively clicking on things, right? Like you're watching things almost without processing them because your brain is somewhere else, and how quickly, like literally overnight, within a day or two, that changes everything that
That's crazy.
That's what was really interesting to me.
I've had some embarrassment associated with my clicking behaviors. Like,
I do click on boobies.
This happened.
We know he love them boobies.
I don't remember what it was, but apparently I clicked like on something. And now Instagram shows you if your friends have liked something.
That's definitely a way of shaming people into not liking certain things, right?
And
then
someone DM'd me and was like, I can't believe you like that video. And I didn't even wait.
I can't wait to find out what it is.
I don't remember what it was, so I can't even tell you. But I remember thinking, oh my God, did I actually click like on that? Like, that's not okay. Like, I was embarrassed. And I don't remember clicking like on it. I don't remember what it was, but I remember the feeling of humiliation that that my liking something, like, was noticed by someone else. And I don't remember.
Well, that's, you're making a good point that what you like does get exposed. Like, it does. It's exposed.
Yeah, the veil of anonymity has been lifted.
It has.
Right?
And so now and then again, like occasionally, I will, like, if I'm on the explore page, I'll click on, let's say, a cute girl just because it's like in the biology.
Lizard brain shit. Yeah.
I will lizard brain it. I'll click on it. Next thing I know, the next day, my explore feed, which is usually full of like patterns and woodworking and art, is full of chicks.
Sure it is.
And and Vicky's like coming over to like say goodbye or something, and like my explore feed is full of chicks, and she's and I'm like, I'm sure that looks good, but it was just like a moment of lizard brain. And the algorithm completely fucked me in the explore page now.
Yep.
And I'm like, oh God, now what? Now what do I do? I look like, that makes me look terrible.
Well,
it's all because you like that one post.
Like, that's it. There's no nuance with the algorithm,
Yeah.
Busted.
If you like something once,
literally,
you like it like you want 400 times the amount of it. But like moving on to the next piece of advice.
So the first thing we could do is just be more discerning.
Resist
with what
the
we
temptation.
consume.
Don't rage click.
Okay, what's the
Don't
second thing we
booby
can
click. Don't depression click.
don't booby click.
Try not
Eric,
to
no.
I mean, unless you want a lot of boobies, like I don't know, like you do you. The second thing is smaller communities are going to create richer experiences. So, you know, like the give some examples. So like
Patreon.
in my experience, so
Patreon.
Patreon's a good example. Like if you're on Facebook, I really love private Facebook groups that are subject matter specific. And so then all the conversations are very rich about a particular topic. So it's not just like a free for all where like people are like arguing politics, like none of that gets into it. When you're in a content specific community, people actually are really good about staying on subject. So I think those types of communities, and I'd be curious about your experiences with communities that are more like content specific.
I think it's both true, Cher, what you said. So first of all, the woodworking community on Instagram is one of the nicest communities I've ever found.
1,000%.
I mean, overwhelmingly, 99.9% of the people I interact with are amazing. They're thoughtful. They're usually pretty kind. They're generous. They're curious. They want to give you compliments. They want to see what you do. They want to exchange information with you. It's a wonderful community. So I think already, Sherry, you're talking about the woodworking community as an already narrowed niche, as opposed to like all of Facebook, you know, that kind of thing. But even furthermore, there's sub niches of that, which is like a person's Patreon even gets more private, or like the woodworking is bullshit Patreon. Like there are conversations that go on in our podcast Patreon page that are way even more vulnerable, more private, more sacred than just like average Instagram. So I think I totally see what you're saying.
Yeah. And I think that you're going to have a higher likelihood of those relationships leading to more than just clicks and likes and that sort of thing.
I would agree.
Well, and I've had that experience myself in those types of communities. There are people that then I've met in person that I consider myself friends, and we joke. We're like, we met on social media, and now this person is a close, dear friend of mine. And so that leads us to those, like back to the beginning of like those oxytocin experiences rather than just the anonymous clicks and dopamine hits.
And you and I met through a personal ad in a newspaper.
So we met actually through media.
Fucking, what was 1927? What the fuck?
I'm not even joking. I'm not even joking. But that's another story for another time.
Yeah.
Okay. So
that's
the second
the after
thing,
show.
The second thing we can do, right, is smaller communities, like size down communities into specific content areas.
Another thing I would say is kind of managing your time on social media. And that I think because there's so much to see, it can really sort of monopolize our attention. And so you want to be mindful of like, how much time am I spending on this? And is it taking me away from more substantive social experiences?
Eric, you do that.
How do you mean?
Didn't you for a while give yourself only 1 hour of Instagram time a day or something?
Oh, I still have the timer on there. Yeah. So
that's so good.
Now, so that's a tricky thing though, because again, it being my job, I have to take breaks and go on there. And I know immediately as soon as I take a 15-minute break so I can go post a story or do whatever, then like that takes me 3 minutes, and then just the other 12 minutes, you're just like, I don't know what the fuck's going on. I see Jenny post a picture. Then I see Paul post the greatest fucking story of all time, by the way, today. Greatest thing I've ever seen on the
Oh my God, I want to see it.
Paul wearing a triple XS t-shirt for Justin's the Call Me Maybe new line of merch.
Sausage casing.
It's amazing. It's amazing.
Yeah,
No,
it's great.
And so shit like that happens. And then like you have a good laugh, and then I'm texting Paul, and then then I'm
Eric,
binging reels.
Different. Yeah, but see, I feel like that's fundamentally different. Binging reels, not great. You're not going to feel good.
Yeah.
Texting your friend, laughing together about a ridiculous moment, so much better.
I agree 100%. And my issue with Instagram as a platform right now is, and maybe I'm just going to be crotchety old man, the thing that they did really well 10 years ago was give everybody that experience. And then when you wanted to scroll, you could go to the explore page and scroll. Your feed was people that you followed, that you wanted to be in community with, that you wanted to talk to. And then you could seek out the experience of scrolling. And now it's so enmeshed that like the moment I open Instagram, I am aware that it's so easy to get sucked down the rabbit holes.
Okay.
You know? So like
Yeah.
I might be texting you 1 second and then I close the messages and then all of a sudden it's just boobies again. And I'm like, I don't even know where they came from.
God. Oh my God. To all the listeners, I am so sorry for Eric's booby fascination today. I don't know what's going on.
Don't put this on Eric.
I did
Yeah.
not bring the booby
Yeah.
into
You're
this
the one in a sausage casing. I was out here getting hot and heavy watching that, buddy.
Okay, on that note, Cher, have we do you have any other solutions, or let's go back, curate your feed, smaller communities,
Mhm.
and manage your time spent better on social media?
Yes.
Those are the top.
I think those are the most important
Okay.
things. And if you're going to kind of go down the rabbit hole of reels, make it something light and funny that is like a stress reduction.
Yeah.
You know, like if, I remember when my daughter was a little bit younger, like we would just go and look at videos of people slipping on the ice because it would make us laugh hysterically. We would lay in bed and we're watching people slip on the ice. And for like, this would just make us laugh till like we were crying.
That's great.
And it was a great way to sort of like
Yeah.
release the stress of the day. So yeah, kind of thinking about it that way.
Keep
Of
it
like,
positive.
how do I, keep this positive and make it like a stress reduction, not
That's
take me
great.
down a bad road.
Yeah.
Well, everyone, I hope you've enjoyed today's episode about like the positives, the negatives of social media, but more from the perspective as a psychologist and talking about the brain chemistry associated with it. I found that to be very interesting. So thank you, Sherry. Thank you.
Yeah,
so much.
thank you, Sherry.
Absolutely, yeah.
So Eric, you have a little message from WTB Woodworking?
From our Lord and Savior, Billiam T. Burkle.
Is that right?
Absolutely. So this episode is brought to you again by WTV Woodworking. So friends, this will come out kind of mid-October, I believe. And Bill's having the 1 year anniversary, the celebration, Saturday, October 25th from 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. You guys come out, you get some free food. There's some giveaways. There's a bunch of sales. He's selling Shaper. He's selling Festool. He's selling Mafel. He also, don't forget, is a creator and distributor of slabs and hardwood and sheet goods. So if you guys need something in that realm, he's got plenty of local materials, and he is in Huntington Valley, 390 Pike Road, Huntington Valley, Pennsylvania. So go check him out. Tell him I sent you. I'll probably be there. I know KJ is going to be there as well. So come, if nothing else, just make fun of Keith Johnson for an hour. So
Always a good time. All right,
Always
thanks
a good
everyone. If you want the video feed, all you have to do is subscribe to our Patreon. If you want the after show, all you have to do is subscribe to our Patreon. It's that simple.
chickadee, check it out, y'all.
We appreciate your support, and Sherry, thanks again for helping us through this conversation.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Excellent.
I'm sorry I derailed it with so much booby talk, but I feel
That's
it was
all right.
imperative to the comedic aspect of the show.
Relevant to the shift in the last 2 months. Okay, on that note, we'll see you in the episode. Bye.
Okay, bye.